Hello, horse lovers. It's been a while since I've done a review, and I wanted to talk about a book series that I really got to love. It's the Stonegate series by Tudor. I've read Tudor work before, and I really loved her book, The 6 Month Horse. She has a real way of showing the relationship between a human and their horse, and the bonds that are involved with that. Now, oddly enough, even though I enjoyed all of the series, my favorite book in the series is actually the third book, called After Lucas. Technically the second, but if you count the prequel, it's the third. Anyway, I didn't think that this book in particular would be my favorite. Each book in the series focuses on a specific writer, and this book focuses on a girl who will come to change her name to M, but at the start of the book is known as Mavis. And I will call her by both names for this review depending upon which point in the story we're at. Because she doesn't quite change the decider name until later. But in the previous book before this, Mavis was an absolute monster to all the other people around her. She bullied a girl with anorexia, calling her fat, making her feel, like she was ugly. And she just comes off as this terrible person. And at the start of this book, she's actually been kicked out of Stonegate stables where she used to ride. She begins riding at a different stable, but when this book opens, her dad has lost his job and she has to sell her horse Ava. Now Ava is Miss Perfect Horse. She can't not win ribbons with Ava. Every time Mavis and Ava go into the arena, they're gonna come home with a ribbon. They're gonna come home with a trophy. But that's all because Ava is such a spectacular horse. And it's quite clear from the beginning, Mavis does not actually know anything about horses. She has no idea how to ride well on her own. She doesn't know about horse training, horse care. She really does nothing with the horse except look pretty and hop over the jumps with them, lets them do all the work. And so, you would think when she has to sell her perfect horse, she'd be upset. But instead, she's relieved. Now, this is, of course, way different than you would expect any horse book to go, because just about every horse book is a girl who wants to end up with her chosen horse. Whether they're a sickly one who needs the right person to bring out the champion, and then one who's overcoming an injury, or one who's got an attitude that only a specific rider can understand. Those are all stories that have been told a million times. So this book, starting out the complete opposite, grabbed my attention. She's like, yes, I don't have to ride anymore. I never have to go into the stupid show ring again. I'm done with horses, thank God. But the world has other plans in store for her. When she goes to a stable to pick up some things that belong to her old horse so she can sell them and try to make a little extra money with them, she meets a horse named Lucas. Lucas is not a champion horse and probably never will be. And that's not because he needs the right person to believe in him. That's not because he has an illness to overcome or an injury. That's not because he has a bad attitude. That's simply not who Lucas is. And I can understand that because of my relationship with my own pony, Bucky. I got Bucky and I thought we'd have fun showing, and it wasn't so much that I cared about showing for the sake of saying, look at me, I'm winning a ribbon. I wanted to look back someday on those ribbons and remember the different times we'd had, like some other people I know do with their horses. Well, the first time I showed Bucky, and the last time I showed Bucky, he made it clear he doesn't like to be shown. He hates the whole show environment. And I decided then and there that that would be the last time I would ever show him because that, His happiness means more to me than the ribbons, and I don't need those ribbons to remember good times that I have with him. So I totally understand wanting out of the show scene. This is very relatable for me. And having a horse that isn't going to be the star of the show circuit, that's real. Because guess what? Not every horse is going to be a champion if they have the right person believe in them. That just might not be who they want to be. And oddly enough, for someone who had the perfect horse, Mavis finds herself coming to love Lucas. And Lainey, who runs the stables, says, "Hey, why don't you come work with Lucas? He's not really all that well trained. Let's come have fun with him. Come join us. Even you don't have to have your own horse to ride. Come spend time with Lucas." And at first she says no, but she finds herself drawn into it. And she basically starts off from scratch learning everything there is to know about horses. And there's one especially funny scene where she's trying to lunge Lucas, get him to run in a circle around her to wear off some energy, get him some exercise, and he will not stop trotting. And she can't figure out how to get him to stop. And this little kid who's watching from the sidelines comes up and says, have you tried telling him to whoa? And she's like, well, I'm an idiot for not thinking of that, because who doesn't know whoa means stop? Apparently, Mavis doesn't. Well, as she comes to work more with Lucas and to love him more, she wants to change who she is. She starts to see herself in a different light. And you can kind of feel sympathy for her. In fact, you really can feel sympathy for her, because even though she's been a bully, she does take an honest look at herself. She does say, okay, I have to change. And she goes so far as to changing back to her real name, which is M. She'd been, well, what she sees is her real name. It is her real name, the name she takes on. She'd been named Mavis after her aunt, who was a horrible influence on her and who really made her miserable. On top of that, M has a brother who has severe seizures, a lot of medical issues, and she had to kind of ride a lot of responsibility that goes along with that as his sister. So she hasn't had an easy life. Not that that's an excuse, but she does come to take an honest look at herself. And through doing that and through working with Lucas, she comes to rediscover her love of horses. And I actually want to share one quote in here that I really love. This one, the lady who runs the stables, Lainey, she gives Mavis a call, or gives Em a call rather, to get her to work with Lucas, and she wants her to go to basically a schooling show. It's not a real big time show, but just something to say this is what we are currently learning. Not a big deal, but Mavis gets the call, and she almost has a heart attack thinking that something's wrong with Lucas. And I love this quote. By the way, this takes place in Canada, so when she says red ribbon, she means first place, because in Canada, first place ribbons are red instead of blue. But she says, if Lucas isn't okay, I won't be okay. I love that big bummed, dirty-tailed, non-pedigreed, weirdly energetic, barely trained trail horse more than I've ever loved any sleek, conditioned, push-button red ribbon machine I've owned before. It doesn't matter to her anymore that, well, it really never did, that she's never going to win a ribbon on Lucas. She just loves him. And I get her panicked reaction, because anytime I get a call from where my pony Bucky is kept, my first thought is, oh God, is he sick? Is he hurt? Did something happen to him? Because loving someone is to worry about them, and she's gotten to worry about Lucas. Funnily enough, there's another Lucas in M's life. A guy who's on the basketball team with her brother. And they end up spending time together, and she actually, through falling in love with him, she gets to change too. And it's really an honest portrayal of love. It isn't the focus of the story, but to me it's very real in that when you love someone, you help them become the best version of themselves without changing the core of who that person is. And that's something she does with Lucas, as well as what Lucas the human does with her. These are some very healthy relationships that she develops in her life. And in the end, it all goes happily where her father gets another job, things start going good, and the book ends with the idea that she might or might not end up being able to buy Lucas, depending on if he's ever going to be for sale. Spoiler alert, one of the future books shows that yes, indeed, Lucas is her horse eventually. But to me, I found this the most real horse book I've read in a long time. There's one scene in there where she's just playing in the arena with him. And when I read that, I thought, this person must, whoever wrote this book, Tudor, she must have seen me working with my horse, Bucky. Because we do that all the time, where I just let him follow me around the arena for fun, where I just let him have a good roll in the dirt, and we just have a good time without working. It's just me and him being friends. And this book really shows how a human and horse can honestly be friends, and that is what matters, not the ribbons, not helping them overcome some obstacle to win a show. It's just they have that connection, no matter how Lucas ever shows, whether or not M ever decides to show him at all ever again. That connection is something they're always going to have, and it helped her rediscover who she is and rediscover horses in her life. It's it drifts out of focus a bit with family stories about how she's dealing with her brother's health conditions, but that also helps with her character development because we see right away she's willing to drive him places, doesn't complain about it. She's willing to help out at home. She's not just the bully that she seems to be in the last book. And that's one of the things that helps you see her character in a different way from the start. So if you're looking for stories, great horror stories in general, I really recommend the Stonegate series. And the best of them, by far, in my opinion, is After Lucas. I hope you'll give it a chance and that it helps you see horses in it. Maybe you'll see them in a different light if you are someone who happens to see them more as someone to win shows with. Maybe it'll help you deepen that connection with your own horse if you have one in real life. And whether or not you do have your own horse, I hope you keep horses in your life. Talk to you next time.